Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand, attorney Jen Riza and her team will help you understand the latest developments, scope out risks, and find a compliant path forward in this rapidly changing field. Visit northstarlaw.com and let North Star Law Group guide you through the legal landscape with confidence.
And we're back. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights. I'm your host, Tanner, joined today by Marcus and Steve. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Tanner, good to be here.
Welcome, good evening.
Yeah.
Afternoon and morning.
Super excited to have you guys here at the Dabbler Depot studio. Man, it was a busy week.
Right. No days off.
No days off. Doesn't matter what day it is.
Thinking of where we were a week from today. So it's Wednesday right now. We're looking back a week. The things that have happened in the past week. We had our beverage event at Modest Brewing.
Bam.
We got to have a class actually at Modest itself.
Bam, bam.
We recorded 2 podcasts earlier in the day.
Oh,
Bam,
yeah.
bam, bam.
Yep. And we've gotten word that the beverage, if you were to go to Modest Brewing today, all gone.
Hello, is the
It flew out from best that we
Sold
know
out.
from our conversation with Andy. It is the fastest that a beverage has just totally fallen off the shelf at Modest Brewing.
Well, goddamn.
fastest to make,
That should not be a limited
fastest to
run
go.
then.
More on that later. No. It's a limited run. People should go to the stores. They should definitely seize the opportunity to get it. Could there be some Northern Light opportunity in the future? Maybe. But really, I think, you never forget the first Northern Lights run. And this is
Right.
really the best one.
Yeah, we'll just be chasing that high forever.
No, but it was really just such a fun time. I had this thought, and it's actually something that Jeslyn Bell said to me while we were at the venue. And it was to see so many people in the industry that they themselves either have products in their shop because they make them or they sell them or they just have a lot of cannabis products. They know a lot of people in the industry. To have them come out on a Saturday and to just buy our cannabis product, just to try it out, just to come and support us. Truly, it meant so much. So to everyone who was there and to those who have gone to the store and bought them, truly just thank you so much for all of your support.
Thank you. That's love.
Yeah, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful release. Amazing. You can still find it. I mean, it'll be around at stores like Dabbler Depot, Canna Joy.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Yeah, it was cool. In fact, if you Google Northern Lights beverage Modest right now, there are a couple of stores that pop up. We had David on recently. Hemp House is one that's pretty near the top. So,
Oh, yeah. David and his SEO is strong.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely, it is. But yeah, of course, as you said, you can get it here at the Dabbler Depot as well. Getting on the shelf here pretty
I want
soon.
to be like David.
Yeah.
Strong with Dave.
Don't we all? Well, guys, it was a pretty busy week, not just for us, not just for the amazing classes that we had, but in cannabis news generally. We have a couple different things that we want to talk about. But first, I do have to give one more shout out from the weekend. We talked about the beverage release, which was such a fun time. Really cool to connect with people. But then we got to come back like 48 hours later and have an amazing class. I mean, it was truly one for the history books.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
No cap.
We knew it was going to be because that event space is so special,
my
and
God.
there hadn't been a cannabis event in there. And we've seen Stephen Cornell come with the goods. Like he shows up
Delivered.
prepared and ready to go above and beyond.
Oh, yeah. When he started walking in with those bags of the supplies to make soil, like I have to tell people, and this probably seems pretty bad, but going into the night, I assumed that the presentation was going to be, here's how you make it. Now go home and make it. He didn't really tell me ahead of time that he was going to bring in every single supply.
He didn't tell you he was going to do a demo?
Not the huge tarp, not making a cubic yard of soil right in front of everyone. And it was cool because actually it wasn't just making it in front of people, but there were people that got gloves on. They were up there mixing it around.
That was a masterclass.
Yeah.
It was a masterclass.
It was phenomenal.
He didn't tell us that he was going to bring 20 units of already pre-mixed super soil, living soil ready to be put into your garden. No, I got that call while I was here on Monday at like 2:30, and he was just saying he needed help with supplies. Like the genius that Stephen Cornell is that he's working on so much amazingness that he can't get it all out. He can't communicate it all. But you give him a platform and he shows you. And not only that, he gave away 12 years of information. He gave away his whole process. He open sourced it. And you can now have access to it if you become a friend of the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Mm-hmm. Right. I know I was putting together the visual that we sent out to all the students at the class, sort of walking through how to make it. And I was typing out like the ratios and I was like, feels like I shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is like a secret recipe that years of work went into. When he joked at the front, like, up until today, my employees didn't even know the recipe. Like,
I know.
It's incredible. So spilling that knowledge out, really helping people to go home, be able to grow such high quality cannabis. Like,
and just add
so
water.
Grateful.
That shit was gangster as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially with the venue. I mean, the mirror ceilings and the tall ceilings and the lighting was perfect.
You don't feel like you're in a brewery at all.
No. And my mom would be really proud because there was a lot of discussion, the importance of eating high quality vegetables and microgreens and, focusing on your health. It's one of those things that I think few people bring to a cannabis class like our buddy Stefan does. So.
Nutrition forward.
And we brought out the moms. There were a lot of moms there. Shout out to all the moms. We want you to feel comfortable growing cannabis. We want you to feel educated. Yeah. Come out to one of our classes.
Well, and that's what I love. I made a comment to Stefan right after the class of like, I think the first couple classes that we did, it was a lot of people that were pretty already tapped into our community, which is amazing. Keep coming to our classes. Like, this is not a negative, but it was so cool to see faces come out that really I had not seen or met prior to that night that said like, hey, I heard about this class, or I was at Modest and I tried the beverage, or, I know Cornell's products and I just wanted to come and learn more about it. Like, it's so cool being able to connect with all these growers who are now tapping into all of this knowledge. And the rising sea raises all ships, or whatever that phrase is. Like, I think Stefan truly was right when he was talking about how if we all grow better, like, we're all going to smoke better weed. We're all going to have better products.
We all grow better.
Exactly. Exactly.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. It's such a great class.
Yeah. I mean, if you missed out, just please consider coming to the Minnesota Cannabis College. We are delivering 2 for 2 so far this year, and 3 for 3 if you count the beverage.
Yeah. So before we talk about some news, let's plug just a couple upcoming classes, because we do have some in the pretty near future here that people can still register for. So if you want to come to class at Modest, you missed the first one. Should have been there. Or if you were there, thanks for coming. But if you would like to come to our next class at Modest, that's coming up on Leap Day. This is your only opportunity to go to a grow class on Leap Day within the next 4 years. So now is your opportunity to do it.
You can get stuck in a great loop.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
It's with Bobby and Brian from Doug's Nugs. And we found out a little bit more this week. They're giving away seed packs. People are going to be able to pick out one of 10 varieties of their cultivars.
Oh, wow.
So you're getting basically the equivalent in ticket price. You're going to be getting that back through goods and supplies. And Brian and Bobby know what they're doing. Make sure to watch that episode if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah.
And, we've put out an anthem around Doug's Nugs, and we're going to keep promoting that class.
Oh, yeah. It's dropping on Spotify soon. Keep looking that up.
Are we going to find out who Doug is, though?
Hopefully at this class.
Yeah.
No, who is Doug?
Well, you'll find out on Thursday.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time.
We'll let you know.
Maybe, if you show up.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys, should we jump into some news? So there was a lot that happened this week. Gingerly. We'll gingerly leap into the news. So there was a lot that happened this week. We are going to be breaking down some discussions from the OCM. In fact, we're going to be listening to some audio clips from that presentation and live responding to it, something new here for the Northern Lights podcast. We're also going to talk at the end about a new training program that we came out with that really provides people with an opportunity to ensure that their business is remaining compliant without really a ton of effort on the front end, ensuring that they're getting high quality education for each one of their employees. But first off, guys, we launched a new program this weekend.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
We talked about the things that we did on Saturday and the things that we did on Monday. But the thing that we sort of skipped over was Sunday, we did a huge phone banking effort to tons of different people that had come to our classes, that have bought books from us, that bought a shirt. Maybe you bought a pen from us way back in the day. Whatever be it. If you haven't gotten your call yet, it's coming soon.
Right.
We launched the Friends of the Minnesota Cannabis College program.
Hell yeah.
long time in the running, but it's truly such a cool opportunity to be able to help build community and sustainably help grow cannabis education here in Minnesota. I mean, I can't keep talking about it without jumping to you, Marcus, because really going back to like the beginning of our organization, this was something that you talked about as being so important to help grow community and to really help connect people. Talk to us a little bit about why Friends of the Minnesota Cannabis College is such an important thing.
Well, I thought that we are good friends to the cannabis culture as an organization, as a nonprofit organization. We are good friends to the cannabis industry. Mm-hmm. So friendships are supposed to be reciprocal. Mm-hmm. We've done over 20 events with practically no money. Mm-hmm. We're devoting like countless hours of our time to this mission, and we feel like, you know, we can build this culture, this industry in Minnesota to be the best in the world with the help of our friends in the community.
Sustaining members,
like
right?
We've created this nonprofit organization, but we need the community to invest in it. Mm-hmm. So people can demonstrate their friendship. I mean, you demonstrate it whenever you listen to this podcast, whenever you sign up for a class, attend an event. But we need everybody to contribute some money too for the organizational capacity. We need to have enough income so that we can pay you to do this full time. I mean, imagine what Tanner Barris could do.
I was thinking about it on the way here.
If this was his full-time job.
Absolutely. It would
if he didn't have to do all this in addition to his full-time job.
I mean, he might even be able to get a deal with Sleep Number at that point.
Well, you need the IntelliBed. That's my dream mattress.
So it's a sustaining membership opportunity. It starts as low as $4.20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you can get in at the ground floor, and at the very least, you're contributing every month, and that's what we're looking for. We want to build this sustainably. We've seen the ups and downs of throwing events. You know, some you miss, some you hit, and the sustaining members allow us to be a little bit more on the foundational side of planning. They allow us to build on that. Okay, we know we've got at least $62 this month, so we can spend 58 of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone on the phone, and he was like, all right, well, tell me a little bit about like the different levels. And I was like, well, truly, like our most starter level, if you just want to like start to tap in, see if this is a community for you, $4.20 a month. And there was like this moment of pause. He's like, that's less than like 1 gram of weed a month. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you want to know what? That kind of power, if we had 10, 15, 20 people join at that level, I mean, the things that we can do with that truly is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Little things mean a lot when a lot of people do them. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to create this opportunity for people to invest in themselves by investing in the culture, investing in the advocacy for the industry that's not about the profit.
For sure.
I mean, we want to support entrepreneurs who do create profits and create jobs and create wealth, but our organization exists for the grassroots people, the people who may need some help starting up with their business, you know? So investing in the Minnesota Cannabis College is investing in an equitable cannabis industry because we're trying to provide education, training, encouragement, eventually financial resources to help the small guy, to help the great entrepreneurs who just need some help.
Yeah. And what I love about that sustaining and best buds level is, we've talked in the past about how do we make some of our previous classes that we've recorded available to people. We really want to make that open and that kind of education available. And like, what's the cost that we set for that that's fair for our instructors? And we really feel like if you help us to grow as an organization, that education is yours. Like if you join at either one of those levels, you get totally free access to all of our previous classes. In fact, I'm tonight going to be editing one up and uploading it up, and all of those people that have joined at that level, even if they miss that class on Monday, will still be able to tap into that type of education.
Wow. It's like the Paramount Plus of Minnesota cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that we add a lot of value to the Minnesota cannabis market, the cannabis industry, the cannabis culture. And this is our love language, our acts of service. Mm-hmm. So this is a service organization. We're a charitable nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we give away all the game that we can, and the things that we do charge are like the most minimal I mean, we charge $5 for the Growing Handbook.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking
We're
of that,
making this accessible to
yeah,
people.
we were selling books on Saturday. That was great.
Yeah, that was really, really cool.
New book out.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not yet added to our website. Actually, by the time people watch this episode, it will be added to our website. Yeah, I'm super excited to be able to bring that new book out. Again, some of the things that we're able to do with our friends in the industry, right? Be able to connect people that have high quality education, connect people with that updated information. And like, we were able to release that book. We were able to release our updated training because some of our friends in the industry that are joining not at that foundational individual level, which is important and helps us to grow, but on that business level, partnering with us and saying, how can we as a business help you to grow as a nonprofit? Truly something that was incredible to be able to partner with North Star Law in that. And if other people are interested in helping us to grow, not just as an individual, but as a business as well, we do have business levels as well that,
Right.
you know, we've been planning events. We want to tap people into that. We've got our podcast. We want to get more people on here. Like, we just really want to see who else is interested in helping to grow high quality cannabis education here in Minnesota and connect you with some amazing educational opportunities in the process.
And we're building such a beautiful, beloved community. And one by one, we're getting the who's who in Minnesota cannabis to come on this podcast and to collaborate with us at our classes and events. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if there's any other place where you're going to get this tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, upcoming episodes that we've got already recorded: Bob Galligan,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Brinkman,
Oh, yeah.
Steve Brown.
Yep.
I think there's probably a few other in the tuck.
Oh, yeah. We've got a couple others that are in the vault that haven't yet been touched, but you will be seeing very shortly here. And that's what we love, is that there's so many people doing amazing work here in the industry. And because of some of our partners, we're able to help make that possible and help share that information, share that message. And truly, thank you all so much for helping us to grow.
Yeah, thank you, friends.
Yeah.
Come out to Doug's Nugs Boot Camp. We've got a lot of tickets left. You know, if you want to bring a friend, bring a friend. Like, we've got the space. We can't wait to see you all. Come out and check out Brian and Bobby. That's coming up on February 29th.
Yeah. So we should,
Friends.
yeah. So we should say, if you want to get tickets for that, you can go to mncannabiscollege.org/bootcamp. We've got them right on there. And then also, if you want to become a friend, mncannabiscollege.org/friends. You can go and join today. Super excited to be able to partner with people. mncannabiscollege.org/friends is where you can join, you know, at that best bud level, at the sustaining friends level, whatever level.
So I actually checked that link today, and I was getting ready to respond to a LinkedIn comment. A guy was in Ely. He's looking for us to have a class up there. You know, we can get around to it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's 4-hour drive.
and so I said, you know, we need to do a better job of promoting our live stream. You know, we offer a $10 live stream for all of these classes. And that's really for the guy in Ely who wants to learn more about living soil, but can't afford to drive down 4 hours. And so I pushed him as well to say, check out the Friends of the Minnesota Cannabis College program. We just launched it, and you'll be able to have access to that video. And so it's a great way to it's a great way to get access, like you said, to all the classes, but also we have that live stream option available for these classes. We're paying to have these videos recorded so that we can have them and share them. And as a friend of the Minnesota Cannabis College, you get the whole library, all the way dating back to the cloning class with Doc Dabbs.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you unfortunately don't get with that library is being able to ask questions, what you do get with that live stream, which is makes it a pretty cool option. No matter where you are in Minnesota or throughout.
Or Seattle.
Always tap in. Yeah.
Any reason.
All right, y'all. Well, we're going to take a very short break here. When we get back, we are going to listen to some audio clips from that recent OCM meeting and share our thoughts about some of their comments. We'll be right back.
Bundle. It's time to bundle for February. We've got 2 free tickets with every new bundle coming out February and March and April with Bovida. We're doing a new bundle, and you can have 2 tickets to the boot camp for the bundle.
Hey, Steve, you can just you can just tell people that they can buy the bundle. They'll get 2 tickets to the boot camp. You can go to mncannabiscollege.org/highly educated and just buy your bundle.
Why didn't you just say so?
Go buy your bundle today. And we're back. Welcome, guys. So in this next segment, we're going to listen to some audio clips from that recent OCM meeting. Now, the reason that we're not going to be watching the video on the nice screen that they have in here is because that meeting wasn't actually video recorded. It was just audio recorded on this iPhone right here. And that's sort of the only record of what was exactly said at this meeting. So that's why throughout this, you're going to be hearing some audio that isn't like of the best quality. And that's not because we just, really think the audience recording is a better vibe of the room. It's just because that's the only recording there is. So we've got a couple different segments we're going to be listening to throughout the meeting. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on what was said. What do you think it means for the future of our industry, and just sort of general comments. So we're going to be starting here with an introduction, a little bit about someone who's working for the OCM as that communications director, talking more on that public outreach side, and that is Marone. So let's listen to that introduction here. Marone Melican, I should say. Mm-hmm. All right, here's that introduction.
Great woman.
My name is Marone Melican. I am not originally from the cannabis industry, so I think that it's fair to put that out there right away. But I do come from an organizing background. I do come from community. I also come from state government. Been in state government for quite a long time now, and I've figured out how to navigate a lot of those spaces, but also do so in such a way that you're also informing all of the work because of, I think, the spaces that I come from, whether it's organizing, whether it's community, whether it's justice work. And so when asked to come here, it was both, I think I was excited to lead COVID, but then I was also just like, this is still justice work. This is still, repairing harm. There's a lot of very informed work that we can do in this process. And I think Minnesota wants to do it right. I think we didn't draft the legislation, right? And our legislators did, our community helped inform that. And I think that was the essence of a lot of the work. And so I just wanted to be a part of that process to help implement it.
All right. So that was an introduction. What do you think about the thoughts that we have someone with such that equity lens, really sort of that mouthpiece for the office?
I mean, honestly, she might be the best hire to date that the OCM has made. Yeah, I sat with her in a community forum earlier this summer, or in the summertime, and I'm familiar with her a little bit, and I think that's a great hire. So she's on the side of justice. She said that emphatically. That's what we need on the inside.
And she has a leading voice, so her opinions are going to come through the department. They're going to come out of the department because she's communicating on their behalf.
I'm hopeful that she can help influence some of the hiring decisions, too, that are ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the next audio clip, it's just one of my favorites from the thing. We actually talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. If you heard our initial comments to the meeting that were recorded just like a few hours after the meeting itself, this is something that I think I will forever hold as a prideful thing. Let's listen to the clip.
I think that there's a lot of hope for what could be done in Minnesota. In a lot of our research for the state, as it relates to consumption, we found that Minnesota consumers consume a little bit more than the average Midwest state, which is exciting. I think it shows that there's hopeful market. I also shows that I believe the low potency hemp edible situation might lend some credibility to that, right? So I would really like to open it up for whatever conversation topics you guys would like to have after we hear from Eric on any other national perspective.
I'll stand up for you, Marone.
What do you guys think? Is that exciting?
I think
It's
that's
very
exciting.
Fuck, I'm on the edge of my stool right here.
I mean, we're surrounded by non-legalized cannabis states,
Prohibition states,
and Canada is the only border we have that touches that has legal cannabis, and they have nationwide legal cannabis. So, Minnesota is a great place to smoke weed.
And we're some of the pickiest consumers in the country too. So that means that our standards are above the other 49 states. I mean, we got to catch up in terms of, I don't know if we'll ever catch up to California in terms of like.
I guess, let me say this, because what I said before didn't make any sense. I think culturally we make great cannabis consumers. We have an agricultural background, and we have a local forward approach to things, and we appreciate craft beer. So we're going to appreciate craft cannabis as well.
Oh, yeah. I've long argued that Minnesota is sort of that hidden stoner state, that long we've had this history of cannabis culture integrated into what it means to be Minnesotan. You might be seeing a book about it at some I don't know,
Right,
whatever,
right, the history.
whatever. But truly, no, I think this is the place to smoke cannabis, and I think I'll be proud to be a Minnesotan where we can, smoke the Wisconsinites under the table.
I mean, imagine what Minnesota cannabis market will be like in 20 years.
Bingo.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
the North Star State.
Mm-hmm.
The Northern Heavy State.
Oh, yeah. All right, next audio clip. We actually were able to submit some comments, and we were curious, what are some of those goals that you want to really accomplish during those early days of rolling out the licensure process, rolling out the program? And this is an audio clip of one of the things that they said was really one of their priorities. So let's listen to that clip.
Also, I think from a national perspective, we understand a priority from the implementation standpoint is what do we need to do to get licenses out the door? Cannabis is a very litigious space. So we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have equity built in to the program, but we're also able to get licenses out the door so they can realize and open those doors and open their businesses. And that's a fine line, a delicate process to be able to get from A to B. As we've seen in other states, there can be a lot of hangups.
This guy would be a lot of fun to have on the podcast.
Who was he?
He is Eric. Is
Yeah, so this is Eric Gunderson, who's the senior policy advisor for the Cannabis Public Policy Consulting firm, who was hired on by OCM to help them with the
Is
implementation.
he the guy from Maine?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he is the former implementation director for Maine when they got their cannabis program started up. They've helped now 5 states, they said, helped up their program. They're here helping us.
I think he would be a great guest.
Yeah. Does he just fly in from time to time? He doesn't live here, does he?
I'm almost certain that with the work that they're doing, they're here pretty full time, if not nearly.
He's probably living in a
So they got
hotel
like a
room in
full-time
St. Paul.
contract?
He was in person for this event.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get it.
Right. And then there's also Mackenzie Slade. So I think the two of them are consulting on this project. They're probably living here for the next few months.
Yeah.
Didn't she say something like, I'm a project management scientist?
So we almost included that audio clip. Yeah, she said, I am an implementation scientist, which is not just a project manager. Not just a project manager.
Oh, my bad. No, I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Art and science.
See, we don't even need to include the clip. We just have Marcus Arcus here to
Science.
Tanner,
Tanner, what do you, since you asked a few of these questions that got submitted and got asked on the program, what do you think about this clip?
Yeah, well, so I think I'm happy to hear that their goal is to get licenses out the door. And I think one thing that I commented on in the last podcast that still rings true is it's interesting that our state is so focused on avoiding litigation that will lead to an injunction. They know that a lawsuit is coming. Their goal is just to set up the best type of program possible so that when that lawsuit comes, it doesn't stop what they're doing. It maybe, leads to some changes or some courtroom hearings, but really not leading to the stopping and injunction of everything that's being done. So it's good to hear that they're looking at what's happened in other states, looked at where lawsuits have happened that have failed and where programs were sort of stripped apart of some of their social equity provisions. I'm glad that they're focused on keeping those in our program. So
You mean where lawsuits have failed with the state defending themselves?
yeah, I think Illinois is a great example where there's supposed to be so much social equity built into their program. But when you look at how many of those licenses have actually gone out, been implemented, and are doing business, it's not as many as there should have been. And it's because licenses were given out in a limited setting and lawsuits happened and holds were put on licenses until that's figured out in the courtroom process.
Illinois is a super gangster state. Goddamn.
Don't be like
I'm
Illinois.
glad we're not in Illinois.
Yeah. And
Well,
I love Chicago.
Let's not get off track, but you're right. And so I saw a comment today from Carol Moss on her story, and she said she was looking at the situation going on in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes one way, truly it will have 43% of the market. And it was a reminder that said, hey, even if you're annoyed at how long it's taking for the Minnesota market to get right, know that people are working on it in a way so that it works from the get-go.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And she also encouraged competition, saying like, hey, understand that your hemp competitor right now is going to be on your side in the long run compared to True Leaf or Verano or GTI.
Makes a better industry, both for consumers, but I really just do think for operators as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all grow better when we all grow better.
Yeah. Well, so on that point, another question that we were able to submit, I was super happy that they took so many of our questions. Another one was, what are some of those indicators that you're looking for in a successful program? How will you know when the implementation has been successful versus a not successful one? Well, of course, they talked about avoiding lawsuits, or at least avoiding injunctions. This was an audio clip of another thing that they're looking at as really being that big indicator. So let's listen to that.
The sort of evidence to show that the regulated market is being utilized to its full intent is how we would define success.
So we're going to stop the clip there, but that's essentially what they're looking at. They're looking at how much that regulated market is being used versus the other market, the illicit market that has existed here in Minnesota for a long time. How do you guys think that, or what do you think about the fact that one of their main indicators on is our implementation successful, basically is are people buying cannabis through the legal programs?
I mean, that's a low bar.
No, it's a good measure because it's acknowledging that cannabis use and cannabis purchases and that it is happening. And if you can acknowledge that, then so many other stupid arguments fall out of the wayside, right? Okay, and then where they go from that is they look gram by gram.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, and not to push back against you too much, Marcus, but I sort of agree with you, Steve, that I think when we look at states that first legalized cannabis, I think there was so much emphasis on how can we tax this to get other things out of cannabis. And I think what we saw from that is that just continues to prop up the illicit market. If you have places like Chicago where you're paying a 38% sales tax on cannabis, like
ever going in those stores.
Yeah, insane. People are still buying from
where
their
else? I mean, not even Lunds and Byerly's or Kowalski's is charging you 38% more than Rainbow Foods.
Absolutely, no, I know it's definitely some huge markups. But what I think is important about having these implementation scientists here in Minnesota saying these words is they're looking at it and saying, how do we get people to actually go into the stores? We can't just have a program that's propped up and it's legal, do whatever. But we're actually going to have, hopefully, people buy in from stores.
I mean, that's good and all, but like, who are they going to be buying it from? I think they need to set some bigger goals. Like, we want to make sure that there are a lot of successful businesses in the industry. If you just have like a target of cannabis, and I know we're not structured to allow that, like it should be, the success should be measured based on how many entrepreneurs can start up and run sustainable businesses and create jobs. How about like more than just having people spend their money in the store? Like, where are they buying it, and what's the money doing for the people who are running these businesses?
Well, yeah, I mean, on that point, there was some good talk about grant programs, and there was some good talk about early licensure, and so there's a multiple prong approach going on right now to try to get the market up and running.
Yeah,
I think I agree with both of you.
I mean, yeah, we want people to buy from the legal market, but honestly, I don't care. If people can grow the shit that they grow in their house. I mean,
oh, sure. That's right. Because, I mean, 1 out of 4 people in Minnesota do grow their own cannabis that use cannabis. So, that is a great option. And Minnesota was, one of 11 states to legalize home grow. So
that was
is
non-negotiable for us.
that fucking rocks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's the only way we can overgrow the government is just by having too much cannabis. So the YouTube transliteration gets it right. It's overgrow. Please don't flag this. Don't.
Yeah. I think I've got 2 pounds in my closet.
So our next audio clip on the topic of grants, we got some more information behind the scenes from a guy that we've known for a while, Nathan Ratner, talking a little bit more about what that timeline for the grant program rollout is going to look like. Let's listen to that clip, and then I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on how quickly or what the rollout will look like. All right, let's listen to that.
Within the next month or a little longer, we will release a public request for information, and this will cover questions relating to all 4 of the grant programs that I mentioned. And we're going to work with the Office of Cannabis Management, in particular Marone, to make sure that this goes out to all of the industry advocates and experts that we have in this room and more. And the goal of this is for the folks who ideally will benefit from these grant programs to inform what they need to focus on.
All right, so that was, about a week ago at this point. They said within the next month or so. So that's roughly by the end of March. We're going to see some sort of communication looking for more information on who these grant programs should be going for, what that program should look like. I mean, that's a pretty good timeline. I think going into this year, I thought, well, I hope we see it by the end of the year. This is looking like we're on track to see it by really later part of the summer.
I mean, I'm friends. I would just be disclosure. I'm friends with Nathan Ratner. He's solid as a rock, and I mean, we're fortunate to have some of these good hires.
Mm-hmm.
He's with Deed, but yeah, he advocated for like equitable legalization.
That's right.
He's helping to implement it.
That's beautiful.
Poetic.
All right, well, we got one final clip that we're going to listen to here today. I'm going to cue this one up.
So, I mean, I guess we didn't really comment much, but, I hope that the Minnesota Cannabis College can play a role in helping get these grants out.
I mean, we should be the partner with OCM or Deed,
Mm-hmm.
because the reason we founded the Minnesota Cannabis College in late 2020 is because we knew the legislation was going to call, once it became law, call for a partnership with a nonprofit organization. And we knew there was none that existed in Minnesota that could fill that role when the time came. Mm-hmm. So we did this proactively because we knew these days were coming. So we're the natural, perfect partner. No exaggeration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we knew that the state would need someone to really help fill that role, and we really want to be here to help support the industry, as we've talked about for the past now 4 years. Our goal is to really help bring about an equitable legal cannabis program, and it's exciting to see that the state is on track, at least, to help support some of those efforts and to really get that money out to some of the entrepreneurs that are going to create the program that we hope to have.
Yeah, I mean, this is manifestation. We're creating the equitable, thriving craft cannabis market in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. All right, so on that point, we do have one final audio clip, as I mentioned. This one was really sort of a response to a question about how they're going to be evaluating these applications. When the application comes in, how are they going to know what applicants are ready and who is not? So let's listen to that here.
We talk about having the best business plan, being the most ready in that sense. I like to sort of give the illustration that what we can tell you is that the most successful people in this business are either going to be people who have operated with extreme business acumen and are have operated in intensely scrutinized regulatory spaces before, right? Such as healthcare. That's a great parallel. Who have operated in businesses like that, or have operated illicitly and have never even experienced having to be within the regulated system. Those are two ends of the same spectrum. So to define readiness would be to just say, these people are inevitably the winner, right? Or these people are inevitably the winner. There's no research to suggest that either one of these or anywhere in between is going to make the most successful applicant as opposed to somebody who is most ready, depending on how you define that, right?
We could have a conference to respond to that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, that is the spectrum. And then there's a lot of people in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do have to have a solid business plan. Of course, it's going to help to have business, like regulated tax business experience. But there are people that are in the legacy market who are going to win because of the people in their network who can make up for the knowledge or the skills gaps that they may be lacking in terms of being technical
and on the flip side, you could say there are people in the healthcare space that are going to win because they've operated in highly regulated industries before and they have a high level of professionalism and a good amount of capital available. And it's true. And so, what she's saying is I don't want to comment on are these people going to win or are these people going to win, but we understand that there's a spectrum of people and personalities and backgrounds that are going to enter this space. And I will comment that this industry is extremely difficult, extremely hard.
Right.
280E is a huge impediment. A lot of people wouldn't get into the cannabis business that are business owners right now because they wouldn't be able to write off a lot of the costs that are involved in the adult use cannabis market as it stands in
and like any other industry.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So my only caveat to that is this industry is going to be really hard to do it legally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're going to have to run a lean business, and you're going to have to do it for the love of it. If money is your number one why, it's probably not going to work out very well for you.
Yeah, or you're gonna have to have a large payroll to to find the people that are really passionate about it.
I mean, yeah. Like, look at MedMen. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, but there's these multi-state operators who like over-leveraged financing and, tons of money, but they just over-leveraged and they just tried to be too big, and there is such a thing as too big to fail.
I remember seeing
too big to
their
fail.
financial reports in 2019, and they were just like just jamming it down, like regardless if it made sense, like just fundraising, burning cash, not actually having solid financials. And this group mentioned on that call, well, it turned into a call once Tanner recorded it, on that meeting that the green rush is effectively over. Yeah. So the cannabis hype from 5 years ago has gone away. And so maybe it is the right time for Minnesota to have legalized cannabis. And maybe there is a new opportunity for craft, because the big companies that thought they were going to make $1 billion in this have a lot of them have inevitably failed. Inevitably failed, that's a tough one on the podcast. The pot stocks, I mean, none of those are like...
I knew that wasn't going to work. I was like, that's suspect as hell. Like, I don't gamble.
Yeah. I gamble enough in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
No offense to gambling.
Well, guys, so that's all the audio clips that we're going to listen to. If people want to go listen to that entire recording, like we mentioned at the beginning, they can go back to our YouTube page, listen to that entire thing. Let us know your thoughts on it. We are curious to hear what other people think about what's going on in the industry. OCM clearly is interested as well. They are going to hopefully have more meetings in the future. Hopefully, make sure to spread that email a little bit wider this time. But either way, looking forward to future OCM communications and being able to be part of that conversation about what should cannabis look like here in Minnesota.
Shout out to the OCM. Keep up the good work.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we go today, we do have 2 incredible interviews. We're going to listen to Jaime Croyle talk a little bit more about House of Oil Works in just a couple of minutes here. After that, we've got a double episode, which I'm really excited about. Veronika is going to come on, and she's going to be sharing an amazing product, the Agua Fresca. So good. I mean, you're going to be able to see you sample that and me be able to pop onto the camera a little bit and sample it. And that's one that's been in my fridge for quite a while.
That name is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Tropical Haze Agua Fresca.
From Mi Sota Essence.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
That's
very good.
Branding.
Yeah. Well, before we jump to those, we did just want to throw one other plug in here. And it's crazy. I mean, we're doing so much at the college. It's hard to fit it all into one podcast. But we do want to let people know that we had a training program last year that people could sign up for, walk people through the law, the science, and the how-to of selling edibles here in Minnesota. While the law changed, as we all know, last year, we've now updated that program. It's now House File 100 compliant, totally up to date with the regulations here in 2024. If you are a seller of cannabis products and are looking to be able to train your employees, or if you're looking to get into the industry and looking for a certification that you can show to businesses to say, I know how to sell edibles and I know what's in this and I know how to talk to consumers about it. We've got that now updated on our website. We're really we're really excited to be able to offer it for a super low cost. For less than $100, people are able to go, sign up, get that entire training. We worked with many people here in the industry to make sure that it has the quality information that you need to actually be able to sell edibles and to have people know what it is that they're buying.
Compliant.
Yeah. Compliance is a key these days, that's for sure. And, as a small business owner, you don't have the time to sit down and tell every single one of your employees, like, hey, here's the 17 parts of the law you need to be aware of. Like, oh, you don't know how to explain what a terpene is? Like, oh, well, let me just tell you. Like, people just don't have time for that. Well, we put together a training program. You can send people in an hour online. They'll know exactly what they're doing.
Cool.
I mean, everybody who's planning on applying for a license should have this book for themselves and the staff,
Yeah.
and even their investors. This is something that legal Minnesota cities should be sending to every municipal government in the state. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
this is such a valuable tool for such a low price.
Yeah. So you can sign up right now, mncannabiscollege.org/retail training. It's going to have everything. We'll throw that in the show notes. You can click on that. If you're interested as an individual to take that, we'll get you signed up. If you're interested in getting your employees signed up for that, we're here to help you with that as well. mncannabiscollege.org/retail training. Go and check that out. That's what we're here for, is to help people compliantly follow the law here in Minnesota. It's It's a lot sometimes, and we're here to help.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump to those interviews. Be sure to stick through, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in, friends.
Feeling really energized, thinking about the days and events ahead, and I'm just like, I gotta sing a song. You know, I gotta send Tanner my vision. You know, I've got a song, and it's about Doug's Nugs. It's called the Doug's Nugs Anthem, and so we're gonna sing it for you on this podcast today. Come to the boot camp. Come to the boot camp. It's Brian and Bobby at Doug's Nugs on Thursday, February 29th. We've got a sweet boot camp with Brian and Bobby. Come find out which one's Doug, which one's Doug at the boot camp at Modest. Come find out, come listen to Tanner, he'll teach you about cannabis. We used to call it marijuana, but we don't do that anymore. Let's find out who's Doug. Come find out who's Doug with Brian and Bobby at Modest on Leap Day.
Truly, truly incredible. Coming to Spotify soon. Check us out, Minnesota Cannabis College.
February 29th.
It's going to be a fun time. Get your tickets today. mncampuscollege.org/bootcamp.
Brian and Bobby, come find out which one's Doug. Remember when I brought you that chicken sandwich?
Yes.
So I hadn't been into the shop since 2021, which was the Anoka Food Truck Festival.
Yep.
And then I saw Jude on Monday at the class last week and complimented him on like the art and the graphics and like how it, even talking to Tanner, like how many product, like the curation of the products, I think has really continued to elevate.
Yeah. I mean, that's the natural elevation of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Evolution.
When you have a retail store, you're just constantly tinkering with what's inside.
Yep. And, you know, the longer I stay there, the more and more it changes and morphs, and I become more and more comfortable with things. And I like change anyway.
Yeah.
So just bringing that element to the store is really critical. People come in, they have something new to look at.
Yeah. This is my friend Jamie.
Oh, hey, Jamie.
Hi, Tanner.
Nice to meet you.
Should we get started?
Sure. Yeah. Well, what I love about this interview is that, like, a lot of the times when we bring people in, honestly, sometimes I actually meet them for the first time in the studio. It's sort of like, hey, nice to meet you. Now let's sit down and tell me about yourself. But really, this conversation is going to be way less of like, hey, so who are you? For us, and more sort of for them. But we're really happy to have you out here today and being able to talk about your story, what sort of brings you to the cannabis industry, and sort of what the future looks like. Not that we have a magic 8-ball, but looking into it a little bit. And I wanted to sort of start off by introducing a little bit about yourself. Sort of what is your introduction to cannabis, and who is Jaime Croyle?
Sure. My introduction into cannabis goes way back. Mm-hmm. Probably in the early 90s. I smoked a lot of cannabis in high school. I was one of the black sheep. So I was a heavy cannabis user until about my mid-20s. And then at some point, it started giving me a lot of anxiety. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. But essentially, I quit. So probably late 20s, then fast forward to, 40s and heading out to Colorado. What do people do in Colorado anymore? I mean, they go and they get high. It doesn't matter, who you are. You're in a legal state. Let's get high. And it made me anxious.
Sure.
again. So,
But now with like 4 years, 5 years into the industry, like, can you sort of extrapolate? Was it too much THC? Was it not enough entourage? Like, was it not enough CBD? I mean, how would you like dissect it now with all the knowledge you have?
yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. Knowing that microdosing can really be beneficial, knowing your strains, through high school, I didn't know what I was smoking. Being able to know terpenes and the effects and what they bring to the table, my body can really tell me what it needs. And even though I'm a daily user now, it still creates anxiety, but I know how to move through it. I know how to elevate through it. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you have anxiety, you're eventually going to overindulge occasionally. And I do occasionally, but I think learning to move through that and learning what strains and ways of ingestion
Right.
can really
So
be
much.
different for people.
So much to it. There's
Yeah.
so much. You brought up strains, you brought up terpenes, I brought up cannabinoids, but it's more than just cannabinoids. And I'll pass it to you. Like, you've experimented quite a bit with seeds and like you're probably growing for a specific type of strain to complement the body composition that you have. Like that's the second level that we're now experiencing. And with this legalization phase is being able to grow strain specific for your needs.
For sure. Yeah, I had a friend group that, not to put anyone on blast, but there were a couple of people that used cannabis. I was sort of the guy and didn't really have a lot of people there to teach me a ton. And I think back to, being in like my early 20s, meeting people like you and you teaching me like your nose knows. And you have this really powerful receptor that's built into your brain. And it really tells you a lot more about what your body needs than I think we give it credit for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then as terpenes, I know we're jumping around here, but I know as terpenes have become more prominent, it's allowing me to understand the essential oils industry a little bit more, which has been going on for a long time, and how your nose knows, like how different scents will affect you. And that's when I talk to people about terpenes that don't know anything about cannabis. I bring it back to essential oils because that's just a more mainstream adopted industry. So it's fascinating. And where are you at with terpenes now? I know you're sort of exploring Gangier classes and you're familiar with terpenes. Like, tell us a little bit about terpenes.
Yeah, I was really turned on to terpenes through the terpene tasting kit. When last year at MJ Haberdashery, Ghislaine just kind of blew everyone's mind with these terpenes and just being able to smell them and have that tactile experience with them. It's all about everything. I mean, it's the plant. Terpenes kind of rule the world, but I'm learning about terpenes more like through the Gangier program. I am not in the Gangier program, but with Jude being there, I'm really learning a lot of different things about terpenes and growing. And I would say that he's probably more of the subject matter expert on terpenes, but I really, really love what they bring to the table. For me,
Yeah.
Blue Dream. Like that's my go-to, right? Just because I have a lot of migraines, so it's got a pretty gassy terpene in it, and it helps me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that. So I had a question for you. I think a lot of people have heard your story about being that high school cannabis consumer and probably related to that in some way of like, yeah, this was a substance I really found use for in my life. Mm-hmm. But I think that next step that a lot of people haven't taken is then going and actually like starting a cannabis business.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what motivated you to take that step to go about doing that and what it was like way back in 2018, sort of getting started doing that.
Yeah. Never thought I would be in this spot, right? Just never did. But probably rewinding back in 2016, 2017, relocated back to Missouri where I was doing some end-of-life care for both my grandmother and my mother. And at that time, I really needed some mental health, right? Just caregivers care about other people. They stop taking care of themselves. And I knew that I was at this point where I either needed to get on medications or find something else that could help me. And being in Missouri, there wasn't anything in Minnesota, but there was a lot happening in Missouri. And I went to CBD space, and this woman talked to me for 30 minutes, didn't make me feel dumb about the questions that I was asking. And literally within 1 to 2 doses, I felt more myself than I had in months. And I really wanted to bring that back here to Minnesota.
So you were down there for family, but you were your home was in Minnesota at that time as well.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
And finding homeostasis during that challenging time is so important to waking up and living your life every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were just in Missouri for only a certain amount of time. You know, we didn't really have a timeline, but it was not going to be permanent. It was down there to care for family, and then we would come back to our life in Minnesota.
Sure. And I think about your store and like the sign that you've had for a number of years, like create balance daily, as a good reminder of what CBD does. And how has your dosing changed from that initial Missouri store to now, fast forward? Like, are you still leaning on CBD for the challenging days?
You know, I think much like anyone, as we've progressed in this state, really leaning into more adult use and the Delta 9s, that I did start leaning into that a little bit more. But recently, I have really went back to CBD, back to basics, you know, because it does bring a lot of value to my life when it comes to anxiety.
Yeah, my 2024 legislative campaign is make CBD cool again.
Yep.
I love that.
Yes.
Double the dose.
Back to basics, people.
So you were in the industry sort of focusing on that CBD side of things when that really was an underappreciated, I think, part of the industry. That continued to grow, and then anyone that's been around for a while knew that sort of Delta 8 slowly started to trickle into the industry. Tell us a little bit about sort of your first interaction with what some call like the alternative cannabinoids, and then what sort of the acceptance of that was like.
You know, coming from a medical standpoint or more of a healing standpoint, I really hated Delta 8. And then I saw a lot of colleagues in a lot of different places, as well as my clients coming in wanting this Delta 8. So
that was an interesting time. Like, you would want to hold out on the basis of this is maybe a synthetic cannabinoid, but it was driving sales.
Yeah.
And what that means is consumers were looking for it.
yes. And I'm in the business. I mean, I have a business to make money, and it is about my clients and my consumers that come in. It's what they want, and if I am able to provide that without breaking the law, then I'm going to. So I eventually brought it in, and it was like night and day. I mean, I was really at a point in that time where I did not know if I was going to make it to the end of the year.
I remember not specifically that, but I remember being around you at that time and going to monthly meetings and seeing a little bit of relief from a business owner standpoint. This was right around the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which didn't make things easy yet by any means.
No, I could write a book. Like, I feel like I could write a book about just the journey that I've been on, you know, with this business since 2016, 2017.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about like standing in my kitchen, listening to like a Clubhouse call, like chatting with other people in the industry and thinking about how from that nucleus where that industry has really grown and expanded and having conversations on there and like, is Delta 8 the next step for our industry? Is it something we should be hesitant of? And a lot of that internal dialogue that I think if you walked into a store, you might not have been aware of. You just saw products on the shelf, but there was so much conversations happening behind the scenes, really leading up to that.
And how crazy is it that since you and I have known each other, that technically you could have been selling Delta 9 this whole time through the Farm Bill? Isn't that nuts?
Oh, it is nuts to think about. It is nuts. But, I mean, in such a short time period, we have all grown to know so many different facets of this plant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's immaculate to see all of us growing, too, right along with the plant.
Yeah, I think it was Rochelle who was on here who talked about how the Minnesota consumer is sort of unique because you go to other states and you don't have people asking for like, oh, I only want Delta 9 THC, or I really want like the THCO to be included in that, or give me CBG. And we really are there are consumers that just sort of know the whole alphabet soup of cannabis just from watching the industry change over the years.
I had a product yesterday, CBD, CBG, BCP, right? A new one, right?
Okay.
But it's beta-carophylline.
Yeah.
And Tanner was Googling it as we were talking about it, and he goes, it's actually known as a terpene and a cannabinoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that for the first time, like just the other day. And it's constantly learning new things about this plant. It's really incredible.
It is. It's incredible.
And apparently that one's amazing for eyesight or helping people with eye trouble.
Well, I need that.
I'll tell you where it's at.
So I wanted to ask you about that. So Steve made a comment about you being able to sell THC sort of this entire time.
Yeah.
We, I'm sure, can all remember that summer of 2022 in Minnesota really formally put into the books no, you can officially sell this labeled as a THC product and say, consume this for the THC. What was it like not only going from CBD to Delta 8, but then finally from CBD to Delta 8 to so many other things to now Delta 9 THC, like the OG of cannabinoids, if you will?
So many people don't understand that it is the OG of cannabinoids. But, I remember when that kind of came through, I was on a vacation for the first time in 4 years, right? And I was calling everyone like, can you work? Can you work? Can you please work? You don't need to know anything. Can you just work, please?
Work.
Yes, it was, it was a great time. It was a joyous time, but I was also on vacation for the first time in 4 years, right?
Right, that's right. Where did you go?
We went to...
You tripped out west, right?
Yes, and we went to the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming.
Cool.
We really just kind of got in our vehicle and drove, right? We stayed in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was like camp life, Jeep life.
It was, it was Jeep life, yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
So what was the feeling like? You talked about sort of like, honestly, like the sense of relief that sort of came from D8 being able to come in and sort of having this other route to be able to connect with customers. Was THC, Delta 9 THC, sort of like a similar feeling, or was that much more of like a monumental step forward? Sort of how did it feel to you at the time?
I think it was very monumental. We're moving into what all of us have wanted most of our lives. So it was huge. And
has the consumer changed?
Yes.
Let's it went from I haven't said this one in a while, so I apologize. But it's like now CBD isn't the worst thing out there. Mm-hmm. And so, like, there's a new PG-13 movie, or there's, like, a new, like, now CBD's PG-13, and, like, so, like, it bumped everything to a little bit more approachable, right? So now you're probably seeing a more traditional consumer, but it's a non-traditional consumer to the cannabis space, right?
Yes, very much so. But you know what's funny? I still have people coming in. Well, do you have any Delta 8? Yes, it is interesting. I'm not rude, but I'm just like, nope, don't carry that trash here.
Fair. Well, and I think that's how a lot of people, maybe didn't want to put it out at the time, but we're sort of feeling on like, God, is this the cannabinoid product of the future? Is this really where we want to go? I remember trying a D8 product for the first time and thinking like, well, it didn't really give me the effect that I want, but maybe that's just legal cannabis is
right.
So yeah.
I had a lot of people come in giving me scary thoughts on Delta 8, like just that they would have these blackout moments, that they would forget where they were at. So I started finding some things I really didn't like hearing. It wasn't, it was a bad experience. It was like, I was driving to work and I couldn't figure out where I was. What? Mm-hmm. But back to your other question. What was that again?
Just like, tell us like I'm sorry. I'm trying to jump the gun, but like we all know who's buying these products. So like tell us a little bit more about like who's now comfortable buying these products? And is it different in Anoka, or do you think it's similar to your compadres around the Twin Cities?
Oh man, I would say that my demographic is mainly, and I don't want to say it's more male or female dominated, but it is definitely 40 to 65, right? We do have a lot of male and females coming in, but that age range, they do feel comfortable. I see a lot of older people. It's legal now, so I want to try it. You know, I'm okay. I feel comfortable. I'm not going to be discriminated against, or I'm not going to go to jail for wanting to make myself feel better. So I see a lot of older folks coming in.
It is called adult use. So it's funny that it's the more established adults that are taking advantage of adult use.
Yes.
Whereas like our demographics for video is like younger, but that's coming next. And so for now, how often do we talk to retailers and they're like, yeah, it's the older 60-plus-year-old people that are buying these beverages by the case, by the 6-pack. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, but like that was not what the Delta 8 market looked like necessarily.
No, not at all. I feel like a lot of the older, or, you know, I don't want to say older, I like the established adult. Yes. The established adults, I feel like where we and they came from, smoking was really bad, and we've kind of gone through this attrition with smoking, with tobacco. And people don't necessarily want to smoke. They want to drink or they want to eat. And then you have some of the younger folks who are in the vape sort of box.
Right.
And the younger folks like to smoke.
Right. And it's not cigarettes. It's cannabis,
Right.
or, you know, it's cannabis. Well, maybe it's nicotine to some degree, right? But like the stigmatization of smoking at that 40 to 65, it's heavily there. And so but like to the mainstream and to where beverages are being seen, it's all more, less smell, easier function.
Yep.
Don't have to step outside to consume it.
Yep.
So product wise, like not going deep into your sales or anything, but is it a mix of gummies and beverages, or do you think beverages are moving a lot faster than gummies? Like now we're in, you know, kind of year 2 or 3 of this.
I feel like it waxes and wanes, but definitely beverages and gummies, like gummies, just gummies everywhere.
So many gummies.
So many gummies. Yes. In fact, the city council. Ooh, can you help me with this? What did they name this? One of the city councilmen in the city said, what did he name it? Gummies to go? Gummies to go. Like the store should just be named Gummies to Go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has gummies, but and people want gummies. It's really, I'd say it's equal.
Cool.
It's equal, but it's a real pain to have to deal with drinks.
Ooh, that's the quiet part about the beverage industry, is how heavy they are.
Yes. I mean, I worked in a liquor store in my youth. I know what it's like, and that's just, it's like didn't get in the business to be a
Anheuser-Busch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have some questions for you about your thoughts on House File 100. We're less than a year out from that. But first, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, so Jamie, you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, going from CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9 THC, and everything. But you also had the opportunity to see House File 100 move its way across the finish line. And well, we haven't had that full legalization implemented yet. I mean, as a lifelong cannabis consumer, I'll never get sick of asking this. What was it like to see legalization pass here in Minnesota?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I shed some tears, and it's really kind of difficult for me to shed some tears, but bringing this plant and these medicines out of prohibition is just, what a time to be alive, right? What a time to be alive when we are freeing the plants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Plural.
Yes, plural.
So, like, you know, it's mushrooms probably aren't too far away, you know, given where we're at right now, legislatively.
Yeah.
They're exploring it at least, right?
Hot on Miss Cannabis's trail.
That's cool.
So that's one thing that we've sort of danced around on this podcast generally over the last couple of episodes, but haven't really directly addressed, is that huge overlap between the mushroom and the cannabis industry. And while I think it's less talked about in like our legal adult use hemp side of things, we're seeing so much of an influx of people recognizing, no, like mushroom adaptogens really do have a role in our lives, and perhaps a role in cannabis products too. What sort of has your thoughts been on that? Been on watching the industry sort of accept that, not new part of the bubble, but accepting it as part of our wider spectrum of cannabinoids?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I have moved from, just THC to I call myself a cannabis and mushroom dispensary. So we're pretty much half mushrooms, half cannabis. Every day, though, someone thinks that I'm going to sell them a magic mushroom, and I am not. But really, there's a lot of education, but they have a really great symbiotic relationship. And I think just kind of starting to make people a little bit more comfortable with that. I do feel like the mushroom industry on the psychedelic space is kind of a little bit faster moving than it is in the cannabis space. We'll see probably a lot of changes even on the state level and national level, probably in the next 2 to 4 years. I personally feel like it will be a widespread turn where cannabis has been such a slow turn, for everyone adapting to it. And I think it is speeding up a little bit more, but I think we'll see a bigger flip in that space.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
That's just my opinions.
I mean, once you allow one plant and allow it to be studied and used and it's, safe in the framework that we have it would make sense. I mean, even if we're talking about chaga, reishi, cordyceps, like those are products you're able to sell at House of Oilworks, and you sell those. And I'm using the lion's mane right now. I need to be using one more drop so that I wouldn't have had to pause today, But no, those are great products, and I'm excited. I feel like we're in the early stages of mushroom products right now. Yes. We're like in the 2019 of mushrooms. So it's like, gosh, like what is my dose? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no standardization.
I know.
So you don't really know what a standard amount to take on a daily basis is. And then you have a lot of, is mycelium good? Is the fruiting body good? Yeah. But the boat hasn't even picked up all of its passengers left left it's still sitting there. We're just at the beginning of this.
Who are some of the people in the industry, whether it's locally, nationally? I know you've traveled for some of these conferences. Like, who do you look to for advice, or who do you enjoy having conversations with to like continue to grow your mushroom education?
Oh, wow. I really love attending the big psych functions, especially on a local level. And then the past year, I've really been involved with an institute out of the Netherlands. I've done some training under them. And then I've recently started just probably this week, another program that is U.S.-based. So I am pretty tapped in on a local, national, and international level. I love talking about mushrooms all the time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you met Marcus Harkis?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have.
It's too bad Marcus isn't here for this.
I know.
Just this specific question, he would be all over.
Yeah.
But I can hear so many rhymes in sort of what you were saying to like the CBD industry of 2018, where, I remember buying gummies at the time, and some were 300 milligrams of THC in one gummy. Others were, hey, this is a CBD gummy. I don't know the dosage. It has CBD in it. To now today, where I can buy 5 milligram CBD gummies that are so micro dose that it really have so much control over it. Yeah. I really do see the future of mushrooms sort of moving in that direction.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Just because they're both plant medicine, right? So now, like in our society, people are microdosing plants in a legal framework. So it's like 2 to 4 years. I like that. I think we'll see a lot of progress in 2 to 4 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I had another question for you. Right after legalization, there were a lot of people here in the cities that were super excited and celebrating and running out in the streets and like ripping dabs in the street. I definitely wasn't doing that.
August
Maybe.
1st.
Yeah. But you've talked a little bit about how, you go up just 40 minutes and suddenly you're in a totally different sort of cultural environment, and how maybe the city of Minneapolis is super accepting of people coming out and selling cannabis products however they want in the streets. City of Anoka maybe has a slightly different take to it. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a cannabis operator outside of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota?
Hard.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Summarizing it very nicely. Sweet. Next question. No, that's good. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of red or purple at best towns on the outskirts of the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My relationship with the city has been very close. I'm a very transparent person. That's, House of Oil Works was built on transparency. I even told people I didn't like selling Delta 8, but they didn't care. They wanted it, and I'm happy to sell it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But just really being transparent with the city and keeping them up to date on the changes that were coming has really helped that scenario. But then as we do move through this, we're the first state to allow for municipalities. So this is going to be something that I'm keeping my eyes on, because the city of Anoka has really stated in the past that they want a municipality, and they also want no private entities. So I have options. Do I stay and fight? Do I relocate, right? There is a need for this market in Anoka, and I pretty much am established there. People trust me. The clients trust me.
Right off Main Street.
Yep. So they are very welcoming. I feel like I can have candid conversations with the city, which is really great. So while it might be a little bit more difficult, I have a really good working relationship with the city, and others may not. I know that there are others in the industry who are sort of on the third or the fourth ring tiers that have a little bit more. But I also I'm not as invisible in a small town. What I do is seen. Yeah. So I have to be very careful and calculated on the moves and the risks that I take.
Makes sense.
Before we hop off that, though, I want to, and it's not to disparage Anoka at all, but can we talk about how unique of a town Anoka is? Like it's the Halloween capital of the country.
Yeah.
The world.
Of the
world.
Okay, it is the It almost rolled off my tongue. It's the Halloween capital.
I've marched in that parade too many times and not say the world.
And then they, just last fall, they experimented with open
Social
consumption
district.
within a social district. What was going on, and how did that impact you, or how did you see that, and how can they learn from that and maybe be a little bit more lenient on cannabis in their town? Because
great question. We'll find that out. But the social district came in, and that was really just, I think it was like 2 months long, and it was sort of a trial.
Around Halloween?
It was before Halloween.
Okay.
My own opinions, like, why wouldn't you take it all the way through Halloween? But I think that there was a standard timeline in which they had really decided they were going to try this out.
Okay.
And it worked really well, I think, for what they wanted.
So people could come into your House of Oil Works with a drink?
Not this go round.
Okay.
On the side of Main that I'm on, they didn't want people crossing the main street intoxicated.
Okay.
But when it's implemented this spring, it will encompass
Okay.
my shop, my area, that side of the road. So there will be impacts. I really didn't see a lot. However, I did see maybe an influx of some people who were a little loose with some alcohol come in, and wanting to buy some stuff. I did have to deny one. Yeah.
There's always one.
There's always one. Yep. And they were in the shop for quite some time, and they were pretty faded, but I just don't want to be part of that. Crossfade in your own home.
Crossfaded? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't crossfade in public. Crossfade at home.
Cross the street at the right point and crossfade at home.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly. So you touched on the communication, the transparency. I think what we have as an inevitability is that here in Minnesota, we're going to have a lot of red communities, red cities and townships that are suddenly
going to find themselves home to a cannabis dispensary because we in Minnesota, we don't have that cap at 0, but at 1. What advice would you have for someone who's maybe moving to rural Minnesota or living in rural Minnesota saying, hey, I want to be the cannabis shop in my town? After years of doing that, what would you tell them?
Make sure that you're ready to have these conversations with the city, candid conversations. Someone who's starting up a business, education should be key, and that doesn't stop in our cities. Even in the bigger cities. I mean, just being able to have conversations with these other humans about what it can and cannot do. When you establish trust with those municipalities, then they are going to trust your business. And that's the number one thing is, just make that connection with your community and with those who run it.
That's really cool.
You can't just think you're going to waltz in or just set up shop without having candid conversations and being transparent and educating and helping them learn what's about to happen, because this is a new industry. This is the first new industry of our lives in a sense. Yeah, nuance, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about the transparency, when it switched from Delta 8 to Delta 9, I literally went to the city and said, this is happening and I'm doing it, and they're like, well, as long as you're not breaking the law, we're fine with it. But as things have progressed, obviously, they're learning more, but they really didn't even know about it. And I think a lot of these municipalities and cities didn't even know what was hitting them, when it was there. So being able to bring that to light before it actually hit gave them a little bit of time to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Very, very cool. Well, so one question that I've had in my mind a lot is, you've talked a little bit about some of the changes that have come up in laws over the years. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've faced as a business owner on sort of making sure that your shop is 100% compliant all the time? What has it been like not only going through these changes, but going through these changes as a business owner that has to sell products and ensure that you're following the law while doing that?
Yeah, great question. I have a lot of people come in and they might ask for something. I kind of just let clients know, the whole team lets clients know, like, if you do not see a product here, especially in the next couple of years, it might be because that manufacturer had to pull it and make changes to the label or the packaging. So just give it time, because we're in a transitionary period. The best thing I ever bought was a label machine.
Yeah, on the spot.
On the spot. I do not know how many times I have had to change labels. In fact, I'm changing labels right now, as we speak. So just being able to adapt, make sure that you can find a mentor that can help tap you in to ensure that you are flowing through this really crazy time above water instead of being caught in the undertow. Mentorship, pliability, and a label machine.
That's great. That's great.
People can get the Minnesota Cannabis College branded label machine in our shop today. No.
It's a collaboration with House of Oil.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yep, exactly. Honestly, talk about a more valuable tool you can give a business owner is making sure they're legally compliant at all times.
Yeah, I mean, and with all of these changes coming up. So last week I found out that apparently the oils can't be ingestible. You cannot give information on how to take CBD oils anymore. And if it says sublingually, then that makes it wrong. And if you just say to put it down the gullet, then now it's a drink. And if you have 100 milligrams in a bottle, then that's wrong. Yeah. So, the new advice is just don't give anything on the label on how to take it.
Right.
Okay, well, now I have to make all new labels, right? I mean, what is a business going to do? Labels are expensive.
Yeah. You know what else is expensive? Name tags. Since the pandemic,
Really?
like when we've had conferences and stuff, like the name tags are astronomical.
Yeah, it is
From
pretty
Office
insane.
Depot, it's just like nuts. It's like also tickets, like when we've had, I don't know,
Oh, yeah, like
the
the
little
double tickets?
the little things, just like Party stores are just making it's bonkers how much overpriced that type of stuff is anyway. So
Post-pandemic
and
world.
you can't plan, like sometimes things change. So that was my one question is like, sort of how are you staying up to date? Not naming specifics how you do it, but like general rules. Like how do you stay up to date on changes with the legislature and with the OCM?
Yeah. Well, I'm subscribed to the OCM. So, they're still telling me if you're selling cannabis products, you $10,000 fine. Make sure you tell us you're selling it. But probably the OCM, just being very tapped into the community, really, that's why I say like a mentor is good. Someone who doesn't really know anyone in the industry is going to have a hard time staying up to par. Or let's just say that you're, I don't know, a video store that wants to sell gummies, right? Like Family Video. Well, I shouldn't say
like
names.
Blockbuster.
Yeah. How are they going to? They need to find someone within the industry to really help them navigate it. So going to Canna Connects, right? Going to MN Cannabis Colleges, going to all of the events and the education that we are offering as an industry is really critical, making sure that you are keeping up to date.
Yeah, and we're working on ways to make that even easier because, like, House of Oil Works or you and Jude, like, you guys are model citizens for supporting us, Canna Connect and Minnesota Cannabis College, and we're working on how do we bundle some of the programs and the events and the education that we put out so that it feels better for you. So it's kind of like how you end up paying for Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix. Like we're working on a program right now called Friends of the Minnesota Cannabis College, and it's going to make it easier for the good people in this industry to stay up to date, to stay connected, to stay informed, and to connect in person. Yeah. And that's what's so fun with Tanner and I working together is we're able to bring events and education all under one roof.
Yeah. I mean, the education and the events are critical. Even for, an old timer like me, you still have to stay connected because this is such a fast moving industry that we just need to make sure that we are there to learn. I mean, I could be connected as I am, but still I'm learning new things every day. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's such a fun time being able to take some of our conversations that we might have behind the scenes and put them here in front of the camera and in front of a microphone. So thanks again so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
For people that want to keep following along with House of Oil Works, obviously they can stop by your shop in Anoka, but where else would you send them to hear about some of the things that you're doing?
Instagram, House of Oil Works, houseofoilworks.com.
It's a great brand. Support them, check them out online, come visit them in person, and say hello when you see Jamie. She's got red hair.
Thanks so much, Jamie.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey there, Marcus.
Hey, Tanner.
So I got my seeds. You ready to grow some big plants?
I am.
Do you have your seeds? Bam! Dude, you don't need seeds that big.
But I thought we were growing really big plants.
Well, yeah, but you could just use regular seeds. I mean, come to our class March 18th. We got it 6:30 to 9. In fact, Dr. Dabs, Raiden Labs will be out there. They're going to teach you how to grow big plants, but just with regular seeds.
Oh.
Yeah, come on down. MN Cannabis College or /grow big. Get your tickets today. You can grow some really big plants with really regular seeds.
They don't need to be the size of quail eggs.
Hey, Veronika, welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
For everybody who doesn't know, this is Veronika Alfaro from Mi Sota Essence.
Thank you.
I do have one question for you right off the bat. Where does the name Mi Sota Essence come from?
So, Mi Sota is a play on me being Latina. So, me, like my soda essence. And soda is a play on Minnesota. And then your essence is like breathing in what does it mean to be Minnesotan, right? Like nature, just who we are. We have tough winters, we have beautiful summers, like who we are. And
So-
really kind of bringing that in.
Wow, I'm even seeing it deeper. I'm seeing the brand even deeper now. Now, you started with topicals. Take us through your why when it came to finding CBD, using CBD, and then telling and selling CBD.
Yeah, so I started with topicals just because I personally was going through a lot of pain. I was dealing with cervical spinal stenosis in my neck and back, and they were telling me I needed to have fusion surgery. And I'm young. And at that time, this was in 2018 when this had happened. I had just graduated from college.
Sure.
And it just wasn't how I saw my life. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to figure out a different way. I'm going to figure out what's going to help me. And cannabis was one of those things. And my husband is the one that actually introduced me to it and was just trying to figure out, okay, smoking works, but it wasn't getting to my pain. What really worked, and topicals was what that changed it.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I share this with people? And I was sharing it on my stories, and people were asking me, how do I want some? So I was like, okay, well, how do I do this legally?
Or how do I even do this?
Yeah. Like what would I need to do? And so I realized that I needed to get my hemp license because I was touching the plant and I was playing with hemp and I was using it from the flower to creating an oil.
Oh, okay.
So like in order to do that, you have to have a hemp license.
Right.
So a hemp processor license to be exact. So I figured out what do I need to do that? And that was like my first step in like my journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember those first products that you brought to Stadium Bar and Grill when we met right before Canaween. I was managing Canna MN's Instagram account at the time. I think we quickly followed each other and reached out, DM'd, and told you we had an event coming up, and you and John came, and that was like our first solid memory of each other, of meeting each other, and then, you know, introducing you or finding people in the hemp industry.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our first event that we went to, and I brought our cayenne pepper.
Yes.
So, and that's cayenne pepper, arnica, and our CBD oil that we make, and it's just.
What's the benefit of the blend?
So arnica really helps with inflammation, and like we just deal with so much inflammation. So does cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is also an inflammation reducer. So like a lot of places in South America, they actually prescribe that as an inflammation reducer. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's just kind of blending those, my background, being Latina, and like figuring out what are some remedies that we use to reduce inflammation, and that was one of them. And I created it initially for my mom who has arthritis in her knees. So it was a really great way for her to like reduce that inflammation in there and like move with it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And you still make that product now?
We do.
Cool.
We do.
And you still use that product?
We still use the product. My mom still uses it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not enough people in this industry that are using CBD enough. That's my disposition.
Yeah. And not enough places are doing like CBD massages.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really, like
that's where you ended up trying to take your product, right?
Yeah, that's kind of like when we first started out, that's really where we were going with it, and like figuring out what massage therapists would work with us, but a lot were scared. So I mean, I think there are more opening up now, but not as many. So it was still difficult moving.
Especially coming out of the pandemic. I mean, this was still pandemic era.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did your brand grow after that event into 2022, towards the end of 2022? I know you were working with the Uptown Primitiva Collective.
Yeah.
We crossed paths there once or twice.
Yep.
And you probably were doing farmers markets, pop-ups. Like, all in all, like, where did you start to see some progress for your brand?
Yeah, so we kind of went into doing Richfield. We were at the Richfield Farmers Market for a long time and kind of really setting up home base there. And then we moved from there. We became a part of Primitiva because Richfield no longer allowed, when the summer came, we went to try to be a part of their farmers market outside, the summer one, and we were no longer allowed to participate because they had put in moratoriums. And
So this was 2023 summer, I would imagine. That's when the moratoriums came? Like a year in?
no, this was 2022.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. I
it was
forgot about that.
Yeah, they were not allowing it. So I was like, okay.
It's those goddamn CBD beverages that everybody's worried about.
Well, and also there was one more aspect, insurance.
Okay.
We needed the insurance. And so we got the insurance. But let me tell you that's not a cheap. But it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's needed and it's a part of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Business insurance is a part of business, without a doubt.
But with that, we were able to participate in so many more farmers markets. Like that opened up the door to be a part of Mill City. We were the first THC company being able to sell there. So that was really, really cool, being a part of that community. We were able to be a part of Linden Hills. We were we were just able to grow in different aspects with it and participate in different things. And
that's an infectious feeling when you get involved with farmers markets. You're around the vendors. You're seeing the possibilities of homemade products. I spent a lot of time at farmers markets in 2022, 2023, and I loved it.
It's a great community.
Yes.
And it's where to like really talk to your people and educate, because right now, like more than anything, we need education. We need to be talking to the community, and that is where you're able to talk to them. That's where they're at.
I agree. I got a lot of I got inspired by the St. Paul Farmers Market, and I took a lot of that with me into Canna Connect. But when we talk about education, we have to talk about the full spectrum of education. I just feel like there's way too much education or way too much limelight on THC as an isolate, THC as an individual cannabinoid. And I think that more people would be able to get onto cannabis if they were using of the full spectrum.
I agree. I wish we were able to use it more in different ways, especially in like products like these.
Yeah.
Like
it's limiting.
It is because the whole plant offers so many more benefits. I know personally for me, who deals with pain and pain management, that's how I go about my life. I live it through cannabis movement and really incorporating that into it. And that's a part of our mission too. So like, it's really important.
So you shared that part of your brand with me just a little bit ago, and about movement and how that's a part of your daily life. For people that are following you on Instagram, they know you have a certain ritual in the wintertime with John, and also I saw you with Allison recently, and you and I have even done an ice plunge together on your birthday a couple of years ago. So tell us a little bit about how you utilize cold plunging to your advantage and how that helps you be a better mom, wife, entrepreneur, leading woman in the Latino Minnesota cannabis industry. Tell us a little bit about what that does for you.
Yeah, it invigorates me because it shows me that I can do these things. It's not easy going to that hole. Like, it is probably one of the hardest things that I do. Like, the drive, and I drive 30 minutes to get to my hole, to the Harriet Magic Hole. Shout out to my dipping community people. But yeah, I drive 30 minutes to get to the hole. So like, I just go. I just go without thinking sometimes, because if I think too hard, I probably won't go.
Interesting. Think about that with your advice to like fellow entrepreneurs or prospective entrepreneurs, when you were just telling us earlier, like it's about showing up.
It is.
Whether it's an ice plunge or a monthly meeting.
It is. It's all about showing up and showing up for yourself. Because if you're not pushing that and you're not pushing yourself to do more, then we're not going to grow as people, as a community. We just have to, and it all starts with showing up.
Yes, and
super easy.
Not in a selfish way, but in a straight and narrow, like in a clear way. Like the ice plunge helps you show up more defiantly, more clear.
Yeah, it helps me mentally too, like, and physically, and just like it helps me fill my cup. It really, and so when I'm filling my cup, I'm able to literally give more than throughout the day, throughout all the roles that I play as a mom, as an entrepreneur, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of up and downs that we go through and so many different pivots that we go through. I'm currently going through a pivot right now, right?
Right.
Like I'm able to handle it though in a way that with grace and just love and appreciation because I'm able to cold dip. Like cold dip just allows my heart to just kind of calm down and just, it's okay. It's okay.
14, 16-hour days, it's okay.
Yeah. It is.
Okay, so looking ahead to 2024, what are some of the things you're excited about? What are you working on? What can you share with the Northern Lights audience?
Yeah, so going into 2024, we are definitely expanding our beverage line and working on some new beverages with that. We are also learning to educate and just really still working on policy side of things, learning that there is still, because I am putting out Latino-inspired products, right? And there is still issues with immigration and people using these products and it affecting them. Even though these are federally legal products, right?
The effect is not.
Yeah, exactly.
The drug test is not.
Exactly. And there's issues there, right? And I want to make sure I'm not harming my community, which is probably the biggest thing.
That's fascinating.
So, but it's also knowing that I'm also a proud Latina business owner, right?
Right.
And
who's done it the right way.
Yeah. And trying to come out here and really create a pathway and take up space.
Yeah. So, you shouldn't not do it, but you're running into unique circumstances, unique perspectives that are potentially making you scratch your head at night in a sense.
Yeah. There's issues even on the consumption side, but also even on the business side, people wanting to get into this space. It's really, you have to be a U.S. citizen.
Sure.
So it's just understanding that and realizing that. So even, for instance, my dad, who's a permanent resident, can even invest into my company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because of its nature
Well, it would affect his, if he were to go get a citizenship, which he's going to have to, it would count as he's investing into an illegal trafficking business. Because federally it's not.
And that sounds like a complicated matter to distinguish.
Yeah. So it's all different aspects of it, right? There's more than just consumption. There's all different pathways. So it's figuring out how.
Well, it's community support. So for you to look to your community for support, it's inherently more challenging in your community.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even just people who are immigrants, because it can be
right.
but it's just figuring out ways to, if there is a way, or just shedding light on how we can really deschedule it.
Yeah.
And moving forward and figuring out a path for that.
Sure.
So, and just bringing light on that.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you're working on with the Minnesota Hemp Growers Cooperative or Cannabis Growers Cooperative?
Yeah. So, man, shout out to them. I can't, I remember our first time being a part of the community, the first meetings going into that, bringing us into, because the Lovelace case and bringing all the community together.
Yeah. Carol Moss was holding court.
Yeah. It was really pretty amazing. And now to see, I can call these people friends now and really colleagues in the space.
Absolutely.
Right. And learning how we've grown together and been able to create different partnerships because of it and creating ways of growing and moving the industry. So that's been probably one of the biggest things. But recently I just took on also committee chair for membership. So learning to grow the membership and really creating space for our industry.
Sure.
In our craft industry, and really pulling together as a community.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I see a lot in common there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited for the expo we have coming up in April for that too. So
congrats.
Yeah. And seeing how we can grow and educate the community with that. So
cool. We'll be right back and we're going to try some brand new Agua Fresca Tropical Haze from Veronika and Mi Sota Essence. All right, and we're back to try some product. Veronika, I saw you here right around Halloween, maybe the day of Halloween. Tell us a little bit about the Halloween event at Dowler Depot.
Yeah, that was such a cool experience. So much fun. And they had these big fire pits with the fire. I love the fire. It was so warm by them. But we created a really cool altar for that event. So
it was colder that day than it is today, and it's like January 29th today.
You're right on that. You're definitely right about that. But yeah, that was a really cool event. It was fun to gather around with the community and kind of do like a Halloween trick-or-treating with THC products and just education. Tanner was there.
Yeah, they pulled it together. Shout out to Will and Kale for throwing that event outside.
Yeah. And it was really cool because we were able to, it was like a homage to my grandma. So we did an altar for introducing people to cultural experiences. We're all about experiences and really kind of bringing that. And we did an altar of Dia de los Muertos. And I had my grandma she's the one that, showed me this recipe. This is our family recipe. This is her recipe.
Wow.
So we were kind of paying homage to that and just saying thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. I remember seeing you there. I only stuck around a little bit, but yes, Tanner was there, and it ended up turning into a pretty busy Halloween event. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's fun. Tell us a little bit about the beverage now. Let's talk about it.
So this is Tropical Haze, and this is actually, I kind of collaborated with my girlfriend, Angie, on this.
Yes, I've met Angie.
Yeah, you've met Angie. So we kind of put this together because we're the Marierba sisters.
Okay.
And so we actually share birthdays. So that's what the 1229 is.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was one of my questions was, what is the 1229 symbolic of?
So, and this is what we wanted to do, was create an experience for people to take into their homes. This is a cultural experience. So this is a THC Agua Fresca with pineapple and hibiscus. And then we rim it up with chamoy, a mango chamoy. And then it comes with the tajin.
This is like a picnic. I mean, if you're picking up a 4-pack, like, you should go with this one because it's an experience, and we're going to show you how you can sort of dress up the beverage at home. It's going to be a lot of fun to drink.
Yeah. Here, let's get this. Oh, there.
So it's agua, not aqua. Agua fresca.
Agua fresca, yep. So, and it's essentially like spa water, I guess is what it would be called.
Okay. I like both of those things.
Yeah. It is. So this is a nitrogen dose too. So there is minimal carbonation in here. And the reason why I say minimal is because nitrogen does mean it's not carbonated, but there's still like a little bit of
I think like the nitro coffee.
Yeah.
There's a certain airiness to it.
Yeah, and just kind of sits a little bubble sit on your tongue.
Sure.
So that's why I don't want to say it's completely flat because it isn't either.
Okay.
Like but it's, so it's just here.
Let's get into it.
So we'll rim it up so that you have the keychain with it, and then you will literally just kind of take it on your front of your can, and then you'll rim it up with tajin. And then the cool part is with the keychain, you're not going to use it. You'll still have leftover, right?
Sure.
So there's different ways of, you can also use it for fruit. You can use it on...
What are some popular fruits that people put tajin on?
Watermelon, mango.
Watermelon, yes.
My favorite is Jamaica.
Okay, yes.
You can also do apples.
Sure.
I really like apples.
Right, that would be an approachable one for people.
Here, I'll give you this
Oh,
one.
thank you. Oh, that's mine. Wow, thank you.
I'll make it.
I'm liking your brand. I'm enjoying it more. And that's part of the Northern Lights experience, right? To be able to really talk through what these, I say entrepreneurs, but pioneers are doing in the space. I mean, anyone who's making an innovative product in the Minnesota hemp industry right now could be considered a pioneer just by the times that we're living in. You know, the amount of change that's happening in our industry over the last 3 years since we've met, a little less than 3 years. Like it's mind blowing.
Yep.
It's fascinating.
It really is. Oh, you know what? I wanted you to try it without, also with it, and then
that's
without.
right. That's
so
right.
Here, let's do this one without.
We've got a new Minnesota Cannabis College cup. We could pour some in.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Well, I think it will.
Just with the crack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, I see what you mean.
So it's a different experience without it. So it's like 2 different experiences. You get one flavor with, and then one flavor without it.
Tropical haze. Here we go. 1229. That first sip is really nice. It's a friendly flavor. Pineapple. Okay, so it's the pineapple that I'm tasting initially. And then I like the smoothness of the hibiscus and the spa water. That's nice.
Yeah.
It makes me want to have another sip right away.
Yeah. Yep. Here, I'll open this one.
Oh, that's very good. It's a lot of fun.
Salud.
Salute on the back. 1229 is a representation of when you trust in yourself, have the courage to dream, and live that dream. Mi Sota Essence.
Yeah. Where it's all about just changing things and taking up space, because here in Minnesota, we don't have any Latino cannabis companies out here, and I want to make sure, and that's kind of what we're doing. We're creating Latino inspired products, and we're taking up space.
Sure.
And really trying to figure out a way through that.
Speaking of space, where can people find this product right now?
Yeah, so on our website, there is a list on where to buy, and it lists all the stores that you can purchase it at.
Great. So misotaessence.com. If you're interested, you can definitely check out the website and look for where you can find the product. Now let's try it with some spice.
Yes. Okay, here, Tanner, this one's for you. I was like, let me open this up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Salud. Salud.
Cheers.
That's really, really good.
See how it's a different taste?
Totally different taste. Yeah.
It's a different experience, and it's just about bringing that into people's homes.
It's complementing in a sense. It's, very flavorful. Yeah. I know I got a lot, but I'm treating this like a picnic. I kind of want some more tahini.
There you go.
And so that's the nitro effect?
That's a nitro effect. Yep.
So it's powering it up.
Yep. It's without, because carbonation, it doesn't have carbonation, right?
Okay.
So it's not giving that fizz to it. So with the nitrogen, it just kind of adds that pressure.
Yeah.
And stabilizes it. It's really cool watching it.
Yeah.
It's just like a little, and it goes in, and it almost looks like just smoke coming out. It's so cool.
Wow. So it's a gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. And made in Morgan, Minnesota?
Yeah.
Shout out to Crested River.
Crested River, yeah, with Sean. I will say the beverage side of things has been an interesting road going along, like figuring it all out and everything, whereas the cookies was different, right? And we're manufacturing the cookies and doing things, whereas this, we're figuring out what is our pipeline, how does it go, and everything.
It's more complex.
It's way more complex, but it's fun.
Yeah.
We really enjoy it. It's a new market here. It's a growing market.
Right.
And it's excited to be a part of, and kind of creating experiences for people to enjoy that are very different than what they're used to.
Yeah. So one, how has your product been received? But two, what are some of the questions that you get that you can maybe answer on this platform about the product?
I think the biggest one was honestly like how to use it, right? How to do the chamoy and tajin. I think is the biggest thing. The other thing is we do sell it. We like to sell in 4-packs. So like in stores, it's a lot of times you will find them in 4-packs because we want it to be a whole cultural experience with the chamoy and tajin.
Sure.
So yeah, that's
right. It's hard to sell this as a single with it doesn't necessarily work in every cooler.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that.
But something we are looking into going for, especially 2024, is going into restaurants with it.
Yes.
And kind of saying this is a garnishment and this is how it's garnished and is how we want you to serve it. So
Right.
that's like our big mission, is to really kind of hone in on that and figure out that side.
I'm excited to see this come around.
Yeah, me too.
Veronika, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Salud.
Prost.
And that's all we got for today. Thank you guys so much for listening through. Thank you so much to Jaime Croyle for coming on, telling us a little bit more about House of Oil works. Thanks again so much to Veronika for coming on, telling us a little bit more about her brand, her products, just sampling and telling us a little bit more. I mean, like I said, it's been in my fridge for a while, and it's because of that interview. So thanks,
Shout
Veronika.
out to Jamie. Shout out to Veronika. Shout out to the Minnesota Women's Cannabis Collective.
Buy weed from women.
Yeah, 100%. We'll be back next week. We've got a really exciting interview that we're going to be doing. We're really looking forward, talking to an old friend of ours, talking to someone who's maybe been on the podcast before. We'll just leave it there and tease it a little bit and let people make sure that you listen through all the way and catch that next week. But you don't have to wait all the way till Monday. You also can catch an episode that we got coming out on Thursday. Stephen Brown with Nothing But Hemp is going to come on for our Black History Month Thursday bonus. That's number 4. We've got one more coming at the end of the month. Really, it's been such an incredible opportunity to speak to some amazing people that are doing the work here in Minnesota. So shout out
hard for Black History Month.
Yeah, even though there's only 29 days in February, there's 5 Thursdays.
Yeah. We somehow picked the one day of the entire week that has 5, and we did that on purpose because really there's so many people that are doing the important work in the industry, and we wanted to pick the day that allowed us to amplify that message the loudest.
Yeah.
It's the shortest month of the year, but that doesn't mean we need to just sort of skip out on doing the best that we can.
Yeah, Steven's done a lot to grow this industry in Minnesota. I mean, talk about your SEO game being on point. Steven's SEO has been on point for like 5 years now.
Yeah. And it's the first time that we get to talk about the state laws of cannabis that are not Minnesota. We get to look at another state and really talk to someone here in Minnesota and ask, how is this affecting your business that's operating here and also there?
I mean, he's an MSO in the hemp space.
Yeah, very much so. Well, you can catch us, as always, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, all of the social medias. Find us on YouTube. That's really one of our best. You can catch episodes of Northern Lights. You can listen to OCM meetings. You can, check out some of the amazing work that we've done. So go and check those out. But until next time, thank you guys so much for listening.
Peace.
Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by my co-hosts John Barty and Marcus Harkis. Production assistance from Shayna Payton and Steve Eigenman. Today's episode is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. The information provided in this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. Information shared may not constitute the most up-to-date or legal information. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking their own legal counsel. The opinions and views expressed on this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.